So you want to click on the top layer group, and then you want to open up that top layer group. Now you're going to have to navigate and see where you're at here. Remember that the first rectangle that you created is the one that's on the left, so the layer order might seem a little bit wonky to you, and you're just going to have to kind of remember that and keep track, unless you want to go to the trouble of reordering your layers, which you certainly can do. If they're in order of 1, 2, 3, then you know that they're working left to right. So it's up to you however you want to do that. Let's go now to the file menu and let's bring in one of those grayscale flat files. We're going to go all the way down to place embedded, and then it's going to give you a dialog box where you can navigate to wherever you saved those grayscale images. Once you have selected an image that you want to bring in, you can just choose place. And you can see that by default the speaker has come in, and it's come in to fill up the entire space, and that is okay. That is not a problem. The thing you want to do right now is you just want to kind of move this thing around, and you want to resize it so that the part that you want fits into the square. Maybe you want the entire circular area, maybe you don't. Also notice that my image is snapping, so I'm having a hard time centering it in this square. If that happens to you, and if you want this perfectly centered, go to your view menu and turn snapping off. Just hover over it and release your mouse. Then when you go back to the view menu, you'll see it's unchecked, and now you should have a much easier time of precisely positioning that speaker exactly in the middle. You're probably going to want to go back to the view menu and turn snapping back on, though, because it is handy for most of what we're doing in this assignment. So once the speaker's where you want it to be, you can just hit return and to complete the transformation. And now it's like, you're like, what? This is weird. Why does that look like that? We're going to fix it right now with this beautiful, beautiful clipping mask we're about to create. And all we have to do to create that clipping mask is go to the layer menu. And you will see about halfway down an option to create clipping mask, and watch what happens. So we have used the shape layer to mask out the excess part of the speaker. And if I turn off my speaker, you can see the shape layer is still there. I can also move that speaker around, and if I don't like where I moved it to, I can use Command Z or Control Z to undo. Now we're ready to go to the next rectangle, so you need to navigate down to rectangle number 2. You can click the eyeball on and off to make sure what rectangle you're on. Actually, it's a square, but whatever. Now we need to go back and just repeat this process. So go to File and then Place Embedded, and then you're going to want to find another image that you want to work from and choose Place. At that point then you'll want to resize the image just to where it looks like what you want it to look like, and notice that you can also rotate if you hover over the corner. And when you're happy with what it looks like, you can hit return, and then we need to go to the layer menu and just create the clipping mask. So you're just going to go through all the remaining rectangles and duplicate this same process. You're going to go to the File menu and you're going to choose Place Embedded, and then you want to navigate to wherever you have an image that you want to place the image, and then go to the layer menu and choose, you have to hit return after you place the image. Then you can go to the layer menu and choose Create Clipping Mask. Once you're done with the top row, close that up, click the middle row. You might want to reorder those layers to get them in order from 1 to 3, and then rectangle 1 should be the one left middle. And if you highlight that layer to activate it, you can then go to the File menu, choose Place Embedded, and choose your next image. Make sure when you're working that you keep track of what layer you're on, what rectangle you're on. If you are on the wrong rectangle, here I'm on this rectangle that already has a layer mask applied to it. And if I go to File and then Place Embedded and choose another file, and then if I choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask, you'll see that you can't see that clipping mask because it's been overwritten by the layer above. If I turn off the origami bird, there's the second image. So you want to be really careful about that. But if that does happen, what you can do is you can just take this layer that is the clipping layer, and you can slide it down under the next under that rectangle to the next rectangle. And when you do that, you lose the clipping mask, okay? But the layer becomes active again, and you can resize it. So I have all of my images placed now, and I can go to the View menu, and it's really easy to hide your guides just by going to Show, and then see Guides is checked, so it's showing guides. If I hover over and release my mouse, then they're you probably also want to remember Command and semicolon, and it's Control and semicolon if you're on a PC. That is a really handy way of quickly turning your guides on and off. Once we have all of these created, we're going to click to select all of them, and we're going to make them into another group. So now I've got groups in groups here, and so I'm in my group that I just created here with all of my other groups inside of it. And if you double click in there and click on Gradient Overlay, and then click the pull down into the right of the gradient bar there, I went in iridescent, and I chose this last gradient in iridescent, and then I made the style be radial. My blend mode is set to multiply, but obviously, you could have yours set to whatever works for you. And then the scale, that just dictates how much of a change there is from one color to the next. Now we're going to go to the background layer, and we're going to click the lock to unlock that layer. We'll hit the eyedropper tool, it's the I on your keyboard, and then you just want to sample one of the colors that you used for that gradient overlay. And you don't have to use the gradient overlay I used, you could use your own. And when you sample a color, you'll see that it goes into the foreground in the color picker. Once you know that that color is there, you can just hit Option and Delete, and then your background is filled with that color. If you don't like the color that you got, you can, click with the eyedropper again and just hit Option and Delete again until you get a background that is what you were hoping for.